Okay, welcome back. This is episode 3 of the Eric Z podcast, and I go by the name of Eric Zamora. A little intro about me. I'm a realtor with the Villani Zamora Group and Rennie and Associates Realty. So over at Rennie, we have both our project marketing side for new developments as well as our brokerage side, which houses about 270 advisors roughly now, and growing. So enough about me. Thank you for being here with us. I'd like to introduce a dear friend, dear client, for many years now, Jonathan Yee.
Well, thank you for having me, sir.
How are you?
I am well. I am terrific.
Yeah, so I always like to start to, really get to know, who Jonathan Yee is. I mean, I know you pretty well now over the years. But why don't you tell us a little bit about where you came from, where you grew up, where did you go to school, what sort of molded you to who you are today?
Who is Jonathan?
Yes. So let's dive deep. Let's come.
Ask myself that every day.
Yeah.
So I'm a Burnaby boy, born and raised. I grew up just by Marlborough Elementary, by Metrotown. Had my first job actually at Metrotown at the Station Square Cinemas. That's really dating me because that no longer exists. And then I worked at Silver City Metropolis, and that was incredible because I got to watch free movies all the time. It was great. So I got exposed to that side of the world, the film industry, to some extent. Then I jumped into SFU after elementary school and high school. I jumped to SFU Business School and did BD School of Business, where I studied HR and marketing. And
Okay. Like a major in both.
yeah, so it was like a bachelor's of business with a double concentration. And I got a liberal arts degree too out of it. It's a diploma, actually.
Just threw that in there.
Yeah, just casually. So yeah, after university, I ended up working in recruitment actually for a year, randomly. Completely forgot about that actually. And then
as a recruiter.
yeah, in
Okay.
recruitment. And then found myself in the software world. So now I'm currently employed with the best software company in the world, SAP.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Very good. So back to like going into business school, was that certain aspirations and goals that you had before in high school that you wanted to go into business?
Yeah.
How did you get to that point?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say at a young age, I had a interesting affiliation with money. When I was like 10, I recall I asked for Apple stock for my birthday. I thought that was like, my parents thought
You were 10.
yeah, I was like really young. Like,
That was a serious question.
yeah, I was like genuinely like, parents get me Apple stock. Like this is going places.
Wow.
They're like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
And of course, no, I didn't get Apple stock. I'm sure they're kicking themselves now,
Great.
mom and dad.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think I've always been interested in how to make money, and that ended up serving me pretty well. I got into some like side hustles, figured out, like I dabbled in the stock market for a bit. Realized I didn't have the patience for understanding the stock market. It's too volatile for me. Got a bunch of business mentors, which really supported my growth at that age. And yeah, then kind of here I am now, I'm sure.
How old were you when you had your business mentors?
I started getting them when I was just out of high school, when I started getting kind of interested in the concept of wealth accumulation. I'd say I was exposed to wealth at a relatively young age. My uncle would always take my family up to Desolation Sound, which is this beautiful place in BC, on his yacht. So we would get to experience what it's the finer things in life. I myself come from a, I'd say lower to middle class family. and my parents really instilled the value of money. So in that way, I got the best of both worlds. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like you had a very diverse, exposure to different lifestyles, and that all kind of contributed to who you are. Yeah. So, having you here today, why I'm really excited about it is that, as you know, we've known each other for many years now. I've had, blessed to be able to work with you through your journey. And the neat thing is that you started this real estate journey pretty early. Do you remember how old you were when you bought your first property?
When I came knocking on your door, I was probably around 25 years old.
25. Okay. Yeah. So like I was thinking about this the other day.
Oh, actually, I came to you earlier than because I remember you specifically taking me to
Was it like a pre-sale?
It was a pre-sale in Burquitlam by Burquitlam Station, I think. And it was like $292,000 for a one bedroom. And I remember being like, I can't afford this area.
Yeah, it always feels that way, right? Whenever,
yeah, it's so expensive at the time.
Yeah.
So that would have been like, I was probably like 23 or 24 when I came to you first.
Yeah. So then now that you've verified that, because I was always wondering, like, were you my youngest client, but you're actually my second youngest. So I hate to break you don't get the coveted youngest title there. But yeah,
second best.
Second youngest is really, really an achievement. So, so what I really wanted to find out today was, because everyone has different starting points in their lives when they're engaging in, purchasing or selling real estate, and it's, it's very dependent on what's going on in your life at that time, right? Everybody has their different path, and I think to be starting at that age, I was always curious about what really influenced you. Like, was it a passion that sort of developed early for you? How were you so clear in wanting to do that at that time? And you were like, because it's a sacrifice, right? Like you really have to give up to attain these bigger lofty goals that you have, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you get into that headspace, and how do you think that sort of developed?
Yeah, it's kind of the old adage, like wealth or comfort, right? How do you do that? So again, at a younger age, I had my business mentor, and I had to figure out a way to get wealth quickly, accumulate as quickly as possible. So he just suggested getting into software sales where I could make money quickly. And then my goal was always to make as much money in a short amount of time so that I could take that as a down payment to purchase my first. At the time, I was hoping it'd be a single detached home, but I tempered my expectations, and it ended up being a townhouse, which I'm very happy about, which I purchased with you. My first townhouse purchase.
First property.
Yeah. So I think just to me, intrinsically, I trust and understand real estate. It was always really easy for me to accumulate information because I did it naturally with real estate. Like when people are anxious, a lot of people are anxious about real estate, the concept of real estate and purchasing real estate. When I'm anxious, I read about listings and I read about what's going on.
I remember you telling me that when you want to sort of decompress or whatever, you would be like, oh, I'm going to look up listings.
Yeah. I'm weird.
So but like it was such a cool thing though, because it's like it really did reinforce that passion that you do have, because that was like you just really it's really instilled in you, I guess.
Yeah. It really is. And actually, at the time, I didn't even recognize it as a passion. It's strange. Now I definitely recognize it as a passion. But when I was starting out, I was just like, oh, this is a really cool concept. I'm so green and so new. how can I be passionate about something that I don't really know anything about? But you kind of learn along the way. You make mistakes. You talk to new people. I reached out to mayors of cities.
Remember we went for coffee? Yeah, the mayor of New York.
Mr. Jonathan Cote, thank you for taking my call. Actually, that's a funny story. So I ended up reaching out to the city of New West, and I was like, hey, I'm like this new green student that wants to learn about real estate, and please, like, we'll love to just talk to anybody. And I got zero response. And I was like, okay, well, I got to change up my messaging. So like a few weeks later, I messaged them. I was like, hi, I'm a real estate investor and I'd like to invest in your city. And immediately they're like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, very receptive.
Yeah, very receptive. So it's all in the messaging. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so now you achieved your first property. You learn the process. Now you start thinking, expanding.
Yes.
Growing, I guess, your portfolio. So, can you tell us about how many you currently own and what they are, where they are, why, like,
why they are?
what? Yeah. Yeah. What was the investment strategy with it? It's always difficult to scale like into multiple properties. So. Are you able to summarize like a brief summary of like how you did it and I mean generally like some general bullet points about that?
Yeah, sure. So I think I hit the market at a relatively good time. So my first purchase, I had $80,000 down. I bought a $380,000 townhouse in New Westminster because that was what I could afford. I was looking in Burnaby because that's where I grew up, but I couldn't afford it. I was priced out already. And then I got lucky in those next couple of years. I lived in it and I rented out the bedroom to supplement the mortgage, second bedroom. And then,
is that just like to a student or like
I was a student and then one of my friends as well.
Yeah.
And I lived in the other bedroom. And then again, the market hit really nicely. So I took some money out and purchased another one bedroom condo, which is Trap and Holbrook on 668 Columbia Street, which you also helped acquisition for me, and that was great. I lived in there for a few years, and then I rent it out to a lovely lady.
And yeah. So back to when you were saying you took some out.
Yeah.
How do you explain that to our viewers? Because I know what you mean, what you did there, but
So like refinancing.
it's like a refinance,
Yeah.
right?
So you refinance the property.
How does that work?
You go to the bank and you say, hey, this is how much my property is worth now. And then they loan you a portion of that.
Because it's appreciated.
Because it has appreciated over time. And again, the market timed very nicely. I got very lucky with how quickly things went up. So I guess my advice is buy yesterday. When's the best time to buy? Yesterday.
That's
The old adage.
the very true but cliche line. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I moved into the second place, I ended up also saving money on the side. I was working my software job. I had another job at the time. I was teaching piano, making some cash there. And then I ended up buying a pre-sale in 2017.
Oh yeah, and I think you just walked through it.
Yes, so I just walked through it like a month ago. So it was a very long wait, but so that's the city of Lougheed. And I plan to rent that out in a few months.
Is that a one bedroom?
It's a one bedroom, 560 square feet. And I think I bought it for $415,000 at the time. It's including GST.
So you're going to be renting it out once it's ready?
Yes. So if you know any renters.
So they're getting it here first. Hit you up for...
Yeah, please hit me up. Yeah, I'll be a renter. And then I looked into just neighboring cities. And I was priced out of the Lower Mainland. It was really expensive at that point. So my mentality has always been like, okay, where is the ball going to be? Like, don't be where everybody is, be where people are going to be.
Sure. You gotta be ahead of it, right?
Be ahead of it.
Yeah.
And I heard at the time some rumblings about this cool city called Kelowna. So
Wow. I remember this one. So you really did well on that one.
yes, that I got very lucky there. And so I have a one bedroom out there, bought it for
Yeah,
$170,000.
it had a one in the price. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I think it's
How much do you think it is now?
maybe like 250, 260.
Yeah, great. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And then I was just more at that point very curious about other provinces. So I talked to my friend who has a cousin based in Ontario, and I kind of picked her brain about her real estate journey. And she's incredible.
This is in Toronto?
Yeah, in Oshawa.
Oshawa. Okay.
So it's like 2 hours outside of Toronto. And I bought my first place in Oshawa a couple years ago now, a year and a half ago, I'll say. And then
And what was that?
that was a one bedroom. I bought it for 214,000, and I think it went up like 100K or so.
And is that currently rented out?
It's rented out right now, yes, to a student. So it's just right by the university.
Was that a new property or a old property?
I think it was like 3 years old. Yeah, 3 years old when I purchased it. So now it's like 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, so it's in relatively good shape.
And so now that you've gone to, what is this, the fourth one now that you talked about? Are you refinancing every time, like to do that? How's
What am I doing? Yes and no.
okay? So it's a combination of things.
Yeah. So some of them I did, and then the other ones it's just my own cash.
Yeah, so you just kind of accumulated
A little nest egg for my real estate funds. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you're cross country now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
So, any more? Is that the last one?
No. So I have a pre-sale that I purchased in Burlington, and then a second pre-sale that I purchased in Mississauga, which is also in Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are still being
Yeah, they're
still being built.
They're slated to be built by the end of 2024, 2025. And since I'll probably be tapped out leverage-wise, I'm planning on selling contracts.
Oh, okay. On assignment.
On assignment, yeah.
Okay. And what is assignment for our viewers?
Assignment is selling like the paper, essentially, not the building. So selling it before it's effectively built. And the good thing about Ontario that I like is there's no assignment fee, whereas Vancouver has an assignment fee.
Yeah, so no assignment fee. Is that just in general for Ontario, or is it like certain developers?
Certain developers will offer that.
Okay, got it. Okay, so that's great. Yeah. So, have you already tried to sell those on assignment, or you're kind of waiting for the market to
Pick back up.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So that's how many? I lost count.
7. The 4 in BC and 3 in 3 in Ontario.
Wow.
I'm hoping to get my 8 this year.
And what's your strategy for the 8th one? Are you looking still out of province?
Possibly. I haven't decided yet. I know that there's some hot pockets in like Nova Scotia and New Brunswick that you can purchase like multiplex there and rent it out with a really strong cash flow. So either that or perhaps something in Burnaby. Why not? Randomly Burnaby.
So now that you've sort of illustrated, like I said, this is a journey, right? Like, wow, incredible how many properties you've been able to acquire. It was obviously huge learning all throughout, right? Did you have any challenges on either of those transactions where like it was like, whoa, like I really learned something on that one, and how did you how did you endure through that, and sort of was there any setback from it or anything like that? Anything that happened like that?
I wish I could tell you there was like a bad scenario, but I gotta say it's been really fluid, especially in part probably because of you. But it was a relatively stress-free experience for myself. I think the biggest thing for me was going out of province because I was like, oh my gosh, like what if I don't know something?
Like
Now,
you
what if,
don't know the neighborhood fully or something like that.
like for example, Oshawa, in my specific neighborhood, I had to pay I think it's like $300 annual fee just to like rent or own a place and rent it out there. Like, that doesn't exist here in Vancouver. So stuff like that just kind of came out of nowhere. But no, I wouldn't say that I was ever having any poor experiences in the real estate acquisition. But being a landlord, I definitely had my
You've had your fair share.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a different story.
Right. Yeah, and you probably being a landlord, you probably were sort of accepting in the fact that this just kind of comes with the territory. It's not going to be an easy ride all the time. There's always going to be speed bumps with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like running a business.
Do you were you basically hiring a property manager for your Oshawa one? Just for our viewers here, how did you make sure that it was managing itself, or are you managing it yourself? How are you doing that?
I'm currently managing it myself remotely, but I do hire a property manager when I need a tenant in because they have access to the property, and obviously I don't.
Yeah, they do the placement.
They'll do the placement, and then they're hands off. So if the tenant needed the faucet fixed, so I would just call a local plumber and say, organize with them, and then I'll invoice me. Right. It's really easy. It's e-transfer. It's
right.
Great.
Awesome. So yeah, aside from being a real estate guru, you're also an actor.
I am. Yes.
You're also an actor. So this is also a really, really interesting topic that I want to talk to you about, because breaking into the film industry, it's some may not know how to start and where to start and how do you even do that, like in Vancouver, if you're like not living in Hollywood, for example, right? So you got into acting as sort of a side thing at first, and now it seems like it's really taking off.
Yeah, I kind of got my first glimpse of the concept of acting when I was like 23 or 22. I had been in Australia, and one of my roommates, her aunt was a casting director, and at that time it was when I think Facebook was pretty popular, and I was just putting up like really goofy photos of myself on Facebook, and then her aunt like reached out to her and was like, hey, this guy, has he ever taken an acting class?
Right.
And at that time I hadn't, and in hindsight I should have taken an acting class because then I would have like fallen in love with it. But at that time it was very much, okay, I'm very business oriented, business focused, because I was still in university, and I kind of threw it behind me. Fast forward many years later, I always really loved watching films and watching TV, just really getting into like the characters itself. And I had started to notice that there was a lot more Asian representation in not just film but media altogether. And I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to like be a part of something like that, to be a part of that like force. And I reached out to a couple of agents, and luckily one took me on. And yeah, I think Vancouver at the time was a really hot time to be in film, and it still is, minus the last couple months actually. There's a writer's strike, so it's like really lulled right now. Yeah. So just for people that are interested in acting, Vancouver's known as like North Hollywood, and then Toronto is kind of the other hot pocket, and then they kind of go back and forth depending on taxes actually, and the like production costs.
Okay. So for somebody here, like if you were to give them the acting 101 guidelines, where do you even start to become an actor? Is it finding an agent is number one, or does the finding an agent thing come a little bit later, after you've sort of done some other preparations? Or
I could probably just speak to myself. I think I did it a little out of line. I got an agent first, but I think what is, I don't want to say required, but likely would be helpful is you take like an intro to acting class. And you could literally just Google Vancouver intro to acting class. And there are...
Did you do that?
I did after my agent recommended it. She was like, you can't act. Go take a class. I was like, okay. So I took an intro to acting class. It was like an 8-week course, just in Gastown, Vancouver. It was a really cool experience. I actually, it was a really good precursor because I told myself, okay, I got to be mildly good at it and I need to really like it. So I was mildly good at it and I did really like it. So it was just overall a great experience because you're meeting so many different types of people, especially when you're on set. I met a realtor on set. By the way, no worry, I'm not cheating on you, I think. But there's like so many diverse people that you meet. There's just like retirees, people that are just bored and just want to make some extra money. That money doesn't really matter to them. They just want to meet people on set.
Okay. And what would you say is your sort of biggest set that you've done?
I'm not allowed to say that, actually.
Oh, okay. It's still in the works right now. Okay.
But the first network TV series I ever booked was The Good Doctor. So I did an episode there, which was a really cool experience and also a very scary experience because I had never done network television before. And I had a monologue and I blanked on the first take.
Oh, is that something like everyone has to go through though? Like
I'm gonna say
blank?
yes to make me feel better about myself. Everybody has to blank on the first take, right?
Everyone's got a blank. I feel like
I was like literally freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, I practiced this for 8 hours in the trailer. How do I not know this? And then the second take, it was fine. But yeah, it was. That was probably my most memorable experience. And then if you have me back on the podcast in a year, I'll tell you about the other really cool one.
Like, I can't wait to do the recap of when you're a really big star. Wow, very incredible work that you've been doing in this acting career. So now we're in 2023. Now you have to continue to level up in whatever you're doing, right? What are you doing to keep growing? And because it's always sometimes you can get complacent, right? So what do you do to stay inspired and keep going?
Yeah, so I started looking at just auxiliary forms of income, understanding like to stay within like the real estate realm. So I do like private lending just on the side as a way to have supplemental income. And I loan out to people that are investing in real estate projects that I have faith in. And that's been a really unique experience for me. I just started doing that like 3 months ago. So yeah, once I start getting more capital, I think that will start being my primary focus. Yeah.
So you meet them, you find out more about what sort of project they're working on, and then you sort of go with your gut whether it's something that you want to participate in.
It's more so like you invest in the person more so than the building. Like if they're trustworthy, they're loyal, they're not going to take your money and run away, which is definitely a possibility. But I think I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
That sort of segues into kind of what really wanted to say today was that what I really admired about you is, they always say success comes obviously with hard work, but there's a certain level of curiosity that's a really key component to having overall success. And I always felt like as long as I've known you, you've always had that very high level of curiosity, and you're always thinking about, hey, what if we did this? Remember we talk about ideas for like, we're like, what if we did this and did it this way, right? And I just wanted to say that it's really refreshing to see like all of your success now, and it's clearly a result of you really exploring and just being generally curious about how can I participate in this, or how can I grow in this direction. So congratulations on everything.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Awesome. So finally, we end with one question, because you have such an entrepreneurial spirit. Any new entrepreneurs out there, what would you tell them in a sentence or two if they were changing careers and they wanted to follow an entrepreneurial route? What would you tell them in terms of advice?
Advice. I would say that the route of entrepreneurialism is not easy, and you need to be incredibly passionate about it. You need to live and breathe it, or else you're going to burn out. Like I said, like when I was reading up on real estate listings, I didn't even realize I was like teaching myself.
Right.
And at that time, I don't think I really appreciated like conventional education, actually. So I was like, what? I'm learning? Yeah. What? Yeah. That sucks. But yeah, no, I would say that, and also get a mentor. If you want to talk to Eric or talk to me, I know that Eric is very easy guy to talk to, and you can reach out to me as well if you like.
Yes. How do we find you? How do we find you on social media?
I live in a cave now. I'm on Instagram at Johnny Keys, JONNYKEEYS. And that's where I'm mostly available, and Facebook, because I'm old. I'm not on TikTok yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to be on TikTok. Should I be? Should I be, though? Probably. Yeah, so feel free to reach out. More than happy to have conversations.
So when we do the recap, you'll be able to share your TikTok account at that time, probably.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.